podcast with two more people that I've never podcasted with before. And
Yay.
that was one of the things I was excited about doing this podcast is every episode is somebody, with the exception of Lucy, is somebody I've never podcasted with before. So in addition to talking about the show, I get to podcast with new people, and it's been great.
Yeah, thanks for having us on.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I got two overseas ladies today too.
You do.
Yeah.
and I'm
British accents.
Yeah.
And I'm
and a very
keeping you
strong
both up.
Welsh one.
Yeah.
And
I'm
I'm very
keeping,
conscious of my Welsh accent. So yeah.
and I'm keeping you both up, unfortunately, because it's a lot.
Yeah.
It's much later where you are right now, as opposed to when we're recording.
Worth it. It's all good.
Yeah, it's worth it.
So let's dive into, before we dive into the actual episode, let's talk a little bit about the previous two and what have your thoughts been on the season so far, excluding this episode, which we'll dive into. What have your thoughts been on the first two episodes of the season?
I loved it. I think it's been great. It's been like scary. It's been like intense. It's been like the New York City, the way that you were saying, like it made it a character, like really amazing to see. And, you know, this decrepit city and overrun with walkers. And, you know, I'm sorry, Jason, but I'm a really big Negan fan. Sorry when you listen to that. But yeah, so yeah, it's been great for me. I've loved it.
How about you, Cassie?
I'm going to agree with Gemma and say that I didn't think I could be any more of a Negan fan than what I have watched in the past two episodes.
Wow. All right.
But mainly because I'm a huge Negan comic fan. So I think that really plays a massive part in it. And I just love Jeffrey D. Morgan.
Oh, yeah. He's amazing.
That's interesting, too, that you say like you're a big Negan comic book fan, because I don't know. Like, I read the comics, but I only read up till the end of All Out War. So I never read anything past that. So I'm not too familiar with Negan as a character after that. But I know, as far as what I could tell, the show, the original, like the series the series proper of The Walking Dead, made Negan so much more charismatic than he ever was in the comics. So there's always been a big distinction as to comic Negan and show Negan. So the fact that you're able to like one because of love for the other, I find intriguing, because to me, they're two different entities.
They are, yeah. But I think it's, I don't know, it really set the tone, I think, for the novel, and then to see it kind of come across in a slightly different way in the TV show. Yeah. I just love.
This is going to be an interesting conversation, because we have two people that are Negan fans and me who's trying my best to ride the line.
Like I am a Negan fan, but I also, like I've said, I have not forgotten what he did to Glenn and Abraham. I haven't forgotten it. But I also kind of agree with his point to Maggie the other week, that how many husbands and fathers have you killed? Like, because she's, you know, she's done a lot of bad stuff herself. And like, I know what Negan's done in the past with, you know, his wives, and I do get it all, but they have spent a lot of time trying to redeem him as well. So, you know, if they'd killed him off right, you know, at the end of season 8, we would have been done with Negan, and then that would have kind of been our memory of him. But they took the time to actually, over the rest of the seasons, to develop him. When you have Jeffrey D. Morgan playing him, like, how can you not like attach yourself to him, if that makes sense?
Yeah.
Especially when you get rid of Rick, the main character. Like who else do you have on the show? I like Daryl, but I've never been a massive Daryl fan. He's just kind of Daryl for me. So when you have, I really put Jeffrey D. Morgan at the forefront of the show, I feel, in my mind anyway. That's another good point too. And something I never really considered is, you're absolutely right, is I think one of the reasons why, I was going to say Regans. I'm mixing words so much on this podcast. I like it. It's Regans. I like that too.
It's a Regan.
I think one of the reasons why so many people took to Negan as a character, as a likable character, is because you're right. There really was no other leading men at that point. Mm-hmm. And it probably would have been a completely different story as with the Negan character had Rick still been there. Yeah. You know, that's a really good point. Something I never really considered.
he took over like the leading man, I'd say, with Daryl, and the both of them like took down Beta together. It was like a joint thing.
Mhm.
Like, how can you not like feel something for Negan? That's the way I feel.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I know. I was very excited. I was not to say I was a fan of the Negan character from the comics because he was an atrocious villain, but I remember getting excited when they were casting him for the show. They were bringing the character in because of what that was going to do to the series. Not because of I was excited to see the character, but because of what the story that was coming to the series because of it. And I remember being very excited at the first name I heard before Jeffrey Dean Morgan, because John Hamm was initially up for the role before Jeffrey Dean Morgan. And I think he would have been great, to be honest. But I don't think he would have brought the same gravitas to he would have brought the same charisma, but I don't think he would have brought the same gravitas that Jeffrey Dean Morgan has brought.
I think there's quite a heavy fan base for Jeffrey Dean Morgan as well. So I feel like, if anything, if that Negan storyline is going to like deter people away from Walking Dead, it's the fan base that's probably going to bring people back into it.
Yeah, that's probably true as well. Let's talk about the episode. And before we dive into details, let's just say scale of 1 to 10. What are your feelings on this episode? How much did you like this episode? Cassie, we'll start with you this time.
I'm like a 7, I think. I preferred last week's episode. It was a good episode, but I liked last week. The knock knock joke had me howling for a while. That was good. Yeah. It was nice to see old Negan. But yeah, I preferred last week to this week. But yeah, probably a 7, I'd say.
Okay. Gemma, how about you?
I'd say, maybe about an 8, I'd say. About me.
Okay.
I liked, there was a lot of good Negan and Maggie moments in this episode I really liked. So yeah. And you get a bit more background about the Croat too, which I enjoyed. So
I'll split the difference. I'll say I'm about like a 7.5. So I'm like right between the two of you. I'm pretty on par with last week. I enjoyed the first 2 episodes. I didn't like this one any more than any other, but I didn't like it any less either. So it's staying pretty level and on par.
Stable.
With yeah, pretty stable. That's a good way to put it as well. But yeah, so with that being said, let's dive into some of the points that we have that we kind of want to talk about and break down the episode. Who wants to kick it off? What's something that you kind of want to bring up and discuss?
Can I go first?
Sure.
Yeah, go.
The environment, like with the arena. I know I think you said, I heard you say before, Ben, that you're not really. You stopped watching Fear when Mr. Dory.
Yes.
Had his demise. But like later on, Strand has like his tower and he has like all the resources there, and it really did kind of, although it's a different environment with the arena, it kind of gave me that vibe with how they're going with it and how they've kind of set it up just in a different city and a lot more Negan-y.
I mean, when you look at the Croat, he really is like Negan 2.0.
Yeah, like on steroids.
Yeah.
Negan, that's quite a scary way to look at it. Negan on steroids.
It's very scary. Negan on steroids. Yeah, exactly. But I stopped watching Fear, as you mentioned, the episode where John Dory died. I was like, oh, I'm done. And I have never looked back. I have not watched a single minute of Fear the Walking Dead since that episode happened. He was really the only character that was keeping me watching Fear the Walking Dead.
The same, Ben. I went to I think last season, but only midway because Baby Mo was in so much danger. Like every episode, I was having like palpitations. Like I just couldn't take it. Like because I'm a mum, I just can't cope with the baby danger. And it was literally like every episode. And then Strand was just mistrust twirling and throwing people off buildings. I was like, I can't cope with this.
Yeah, I mean,
I might. Yeah.
I mean, there were really, other than John Dory, and I don't remember Jenna Elfman's character's name.
June.
June. Yeah, I mean, other than the two of them, there really were no other characters, and not to turn this into a Fear podcast.
Sorry,
but no, I'm the one that's keeping it going. I other than June and John, there were no other characters that intrigued me. Like you mentioned Strand and the mustache twirling. I'm like, he's basically a cartoon villain.
Yeah.
At this point. And once John Dory was gone, I was like, well, I'm done, because I'm also a huge Garrett Dillahunt fan.
Yeah. He was great. He was an amazing character. That was the best thing the showrunners came up with was John Dory, and then they killed. I think he wanted to leave, but they killed him off. So
yeah, he did want to leave the series, so he ended up leaving.
Yeah.
But to kind of use that as a jumping point back to Dead City, and you mentioned I'm not familiar with Strand's layout and how this is, but one of the cool things for me with this and seeing inside of the arena is, and I know that's not the arena that they use. They didn't. For anybody who's familiar with New York, that's Madison Square Garden.
Yeah. I thought it was Madison Square Garden. Yeah,
I know that's not what they used when they filmed. They used a different arena. I think somewhere in New Jersey that they used, but it was still kind of cool for me because I have been inside Madison Square Garden more times than I can count.
Oh.
I've seen so many shows there, so I was like, well, that's interesting, because to be honest, it made me question where I would go if I was in New York City. And Madison Square Garden might have ended up in the Croats people, because I would have seen that as not because I would have been a follower of his, but because I would have seen that as a safe location.
Safe place, yeah.
Yeah.
So I might have just been drawn in just because of where it was at. Until I was on the outside and saw all the walkers.
Yeah.
And would have been like, no.
It's a lot of walkers.
Yeah.
Raining walkers.
Yeah, never. So Kat, I can see where you're coming from too with the location, and we've mentioned before about New York City being a character in the series as well, and this kind of adds to it, seeing not only the outer location of someplace in New York, but getting a view on the inside and kind of what's happening, the inner happenings about that. Not to take over your point, I didn't mean to do that.
No, now thinking about it, I'm thinking actually they don't correlate so much, but I think it's more like how Strand as a character and Croat as a character kind of are using people as resources and are very much controlling who is coming in and out of that environment to benefit them in a way that's either positive or negative in the long run.
Was that something that Strand did as well? You mentioned Strand being somebody else who used people as a resource. Is that something that he did as well?
I think so. He'd call in, like people would call in and be like, "Can we join you?" And he'd be like, "What can you offer me?" And stuff like that. So he would.
And then if he didn't like them, he'd throw you off the top of the building. So yeah.
If they were like, "Well, I'm a doctor," they'd be like, "Well, I've got one of those, so I don't need you."
Yeah,
you can go away, and would turn them away.
Okay, that's kind of interesting then, because I took the title of the episode "People Are a Resource" as something completely different, in that he's basically using walkers as a fuel source. He's turning people, they're deceased people, but he's turning them basically into biofuel.
Yeah.
Which is scary, but kind of genius at the same time.
Very scary. I just don't want an apocalypse to happen. It's just made me. I love apocalypses, but this has just made it not want to happen even more now. I don't want to breathe in any zombie fumes to be entered into an arena.
My point is that people are a resource to Negan. Negan actually used to say this in past episodes. I think he used to shout it, like, people are a resource. So he would never want to, like, annihilate entire towns like Oceanside, and the garbage people were Simon who did that. And Negan realized that people were a resource. Is why he wanted Eugene and Sasha, and he wanted people to be in his community. He had great respect for Rick, I think, and that's why he wanted Rick to actually work for him rather than kill him. So it's probably the reason why he wasn't killed on the night Glenn and Abraham was, is he recognized him as a leader. Anyway, so he's literally, the Croat is like literally taking Negan's motto of people are a resource, and he's literally turned it into they are literally a resource, and like using them to make the methane gas or whatever, which I'm assuming runs the cars that go around the city and whatever that float thing is, what makes the noise, is that right? Is that what he's doing? And they're also getting high off of it as well, so he's keeping his people drugged as well, which I thought was interesting. And then he uses the methane on Pearly, what's his name, the marshal. So
yeah, it's fun. Not fun. It's definitely the wrong word to use when it comes to the Croat. But it's so intriguing to watch because you're right. There are multiple uses for all the fuel that he's generating from these walkers. And he's using them for fuel for vehicles. You're right. It seems like they're almost using it as a drug in a sense, because you see these people freely breathing it in. So they're obviously, as you mentioned, getting high from it. And at the same time, while it's something that these people are breathing in to get a high off of, these are people that have been doing this for a while. So they're using it as a high. But with somebody like Pearly, who's not accustomed to this, who's never breathed this in before, it's almost like a chloroform almost.
Yeah. I probably would have been like on my back, put that over my face, let alone fight.
I would have been dead weight.
Well done to him.
Yeah, I would have been dead weight. You would have been literally carrying me from all four limbs to get me in that cage, because I would have had no strength to get in there at all. Yeah, so you mentioned that the vehicle that you were talking about that was kind of leading. First off, we kind of theorized earlier on in earlier episodes that this was a security deterrent, that was kind of taking walkers off the street and leading them in different directions to kind of clear the road. And if you think about it a little bit deeper to this episode, with all those walkers around Madison Square Garden, there's a sound already emanating that's bringing them in. Plus, this vehicle is bringing them in. So it kind of could be both things. It's a security deterrent clearing the streets, but he's very clearly leading these walkers to Madison Square Garden because these are his fuel. He doesn't want to go out and get them. He wants to just be able to open the door and bring them in.
Negan also done that though, didn't he, for the Sanctuary? He surrounded the Sanctuary with walkers. So that's also another trait he's then taken.
Oh yeah, that's a good point too. I didn't think about. There's so many comparisons.
Because I didn't realize it until I think they were looking over. They were in, Maggie and Negan were looking in, and you can see all the zombies around, like the entrance. And then I think you actually see the little robot-y thing near where the zombies are. I think. I might have to go back and rewatch that, but I'm pretty sure it was there because I was thinking,
I think it goes past it, doesn't it? Yeah.
It was also fun for me to see that vehicle because for anybody who might not be aware, do you guys know what that vehicle was?
Was it the Thanksgiving Day parade?
It was.
Yeah,
it was.
Because Negan says, the parade's gone downhill this year or something like that.
It was the turkey float from the Macy's Thanksgiving Day parade.
Yeah,
which I thought was really fun.
Yeah,
because it could have just been a vehicle with like speakers on it, like they've done before. But to be driving around a turkey was just. I thought that was a nice little New York touch.
Yeah, they've made use of everything they can get their hands on.
Yeah,
which is good.
Yeah, but it was a nice little touch for New York too, because it kind of added to. Again, New York City being a character in itself. Like, it's just using a float from the Macy's Day Parade, which is so spot on for New York, just adds more to that city being a character. And I loved that so much.
it was really good shots of the city this episode. I think when Ginny is coming up on her boat, but she can see like all the buildings, and it is like, I think you've touched on this last week, but it's reminiscent of the 9/11 and like all the buildings, and and the opening credits are like really amazing. I think the opening credits of the show are great. I love watching it all, and I noticed the deer that was in it. This episode was in the opening credits, so that was good.
I had to comment on this.
Go ahead.
You don't like the deer?
No. I was going to say I'm so glad the CGI was so much better than when Rick and Michonne saw the deer at the fairground, because I actually rewound it and I was like, please tell me it's better. Please tell me they've spent a little bit more money on this deer, because they will get absolutely trolled if not.
Well, I mean, I know there will be people that will question that as well. Like, well, how is there a deer in New York City? Like, it's a metropolis. But I mean, a lot of people are not familiar that there are deer in New York. I mean, first off, there are a number of zoos, including Central Park Zoo, which those animals were caged. So even if they were able to get out, like, they probably wouldn't last long. But there are deer in Central Park. I mean, Central Park is a huge park in which there is wildlife. Kind of like, it's weird because it is in the center of a Manhattan. It is in the center of a metropolis, but there is wildlife in Central Park. So I think it would be incredibly rare to see a deer, but I wouldn't put it past it. It didn't throw me at all that they found a deer in Manhattan.
I like the way they tried to catch it as well. They used the antlers to like make sound, so they was recognizing like antler sounds. Like, that was good. Different ways of catching stuff.
Yeah, and it's a total hunter move as well to do that. Is to rattle the antler. So that was really smart.
Okay.
I'm not a hunter, but I know enough of them that you can actually either keep or purchase antlers, and that's okay.
It's
a lure. Yeah, it's a lure for deer.
Right.
So
my Christmas list.
Yeah.
Deer antlers. That's funny. Let's see. I'm trying to think of something I can pick as kind of like one of my first points. You know what? Let's just talk about it, because you brought it up already, Gemma, and I know we kind of laughed about it before we started recording, but Ginny using the cooler as a boat to get into New York. As a character, I appreciate what that does for her character. It means she's intuitive, she's smart, she's creative, she's figuring out a way to do what needs to be done. The fact that she even got from New Hilltop to New York on her own is already a chore. But now she's figuring out a way to get across the Hudson into New York. Again, character traits, I appreciate what that does and how that builds Ginny as a very smart, very capable character on her own.
Yeah.
The reality of it, I know boats who can't get across the Hudson.
Yeah.
A person in a cooler, I don't buy that at all.
I was just expecting her to like go along with like the current. Like, she was sort of drifting. I was like, you're just going to go around the island entirely? Like, is that going to happen?
Well, that's just it. I mean, there are so many currents in the Hudson River that there's no way that was going to be a straight shot across the Hudson from where she was to Manhattan Island. There's no way.
I just thought she was going to sink. I'm like, you're going to sink, because there's just no way that they can stay afloat. Surely,
no, those coolers are afloat. They're made to float. Oh yeah,
right. But with a human person in it. So
well, that's the question.
Yeah,
is it?
I reckon a younger like early teen probably. Me, not so much. Like, I'd sit on it and it'd topple over, or I could just use it as like a little head float, like a little pillow. But
I mean, again, like that cooler. I mean, if there was any one unbelievable thing about this episode, that was it. I mean, it was her crossing the Hudson in a cooler, because, again, let's just say she is light enough for it to stay buoyant. It's not going to be that buoyant, and any slightest movement, she's tipping over.
Yeah. And taking on water.
And taking on water, and that's it. Like the cooler sinks, she's floating in the middle of the Hudson on her own.
Yeah.
Maybe she can swim, but, there's going to be currents. And
it was a bit fearish, that bit of a, be a balloon, I thought.
Oh, God.
I thought it would be better if they just had a boat abandoned on the side of the thing. That would have been more plausible, surely, than the cooler. But
and maybe not even that. Like, I would have found it more believable had she found driftwood.
Yeah.
And just kind of floated across on wood and paddled. I mean, the cooler to me, again, I appreciate what it did to her, what it did for her as a character, but believability, it was not believable at all.
No, I laughed. I was like, oh, okay.
She gives me strong early Enid vibes.
Yeah.
Remember the episode where you get like her backstory, don't you? I think it's called like Survive Somehow or something, that episode where she loses her parents and you get the different cutscenes between. Yeah, that was it. Just Survive Somehow. And it cuts between her parents dying, then her going along the road and stuff like that. And I feel like definitely the videography in this episode, how they progress the storyline, is very well done. It's not slow. It doesn't feel like there's going to be any bottleneck episodes. Walking Dead, there's bottlenecks. This doesn't feel like there's any bottlenecks. They're very...
They don't have time for that, do they? They've got 6 episodes to get to the point, But should we talk about Ginny? And maybe if we're on that point.
Yeah, sure.
Her relationship with Negan, I find interesting because they've done this with Negan. This is one of the reasons why I like Negan, because they pay him with children, and he used to be a high school PE teacher or something. So they pay him with children to like bring out the side to him, and they're doing it really strongly with Ginny. And in the past they've done it with Carl, Judith, Herschel, Lydia. So now they're doing it with Ginny, and you can see right from the flashbacks in the episode that they have this really strong bond. And he's a bit harsh with her at the beginning. He's like, you need to shout for me. I can't help you if you're in danger. You're not using your voice. Like, what do you need to do? And he's saying, there's no doctors now. I can't help you. You need to like get over your shit. That's what Negan says. Like, I can't help you. But then he is very kind with her in the end when he finds a dinosaur, and then he wraps it up in the bandages. And it was really sweet. And that's the Negan that I liked. It brings it out, this like, this almost fatherly figure relationship that he has with this girl. And then she obviously really loves him or whatever, because she's gone to a very dangerous place to find him for some reason. I mean, I don't really know why, but I mean, I don't know, but it's very nice. But I'd like to know more why she's done this,
I'm glad you brought this up, because this is actually one of the few things about this episode. This is one of the times so far in this series, which again, it's only 3 episodes so far, and we are actually halfway at this point because of this. I'm a little torn on this. I agree. What they do with pairing him up with Ginny does bring out kind of like the softer side of Negan. It's nice seeing him do all these things. And that bandage thing was, from a character standpoint, very sweet of Negan, because it's him playing into her. Like, we found your dino. He's hurt. Let's tape him up.
Yeah.
But that also plays for a secondary action, because when Maggie sees that dino later, that could have, without that bandage, that could have been any dino.
Yeah.
But that bandage makes that dino identifiable. It makes it so she knows that's Ginny's dino.
Yeah.
Which was very smart as far as the writers go, to give that dinosaur a little bit of a characteristic to make it recognizable, to make it stand out. Where I'm torn, however, is the conversation that Negan and Maggie have, and there's other elements of this conversation I do want to talk about, but we'll get to later. But it's the point where he talks about his wife and his son, and how she was jumped. That was what led him to go and kill the people that jumped her, even though she didn't want him to. They ended up on the run. He put them on a wagon to Missouri, but he stayed behind.
Yeah.
If you analyze that and you think about that and you realize, like, okay, he's doing that for the protection of them. He's now a wanted man. He doesn't want to be associated. It's not that he doesn't want to be with them. He doesn't want them associated with him.
No.
You know, I mean, who's to say they were going to follow him to Missouri and find him in Missouri? He probably could have very easily gone with them, but he didn't want to take that chance. So if that's the attitude that they're giving Negan, in that he's letting them go so that he can protect them, it's kind of, I don't want to say hypocritical, but it's kind of against the point for him to take on a child.
I totally see. I do get this, but this is a pattern of Negan. He did the same thing with Lucille. He's like, "Oh, I'm going to run off and get you chemo medicine, and you wait here, and I'll be back." You know, and then he's way too long, and he comes back, and she's already gone, and he has to deal with this like huge loss. And I think for Negan, like going down the years, like he never wants to have this Lucille moment again. So when he finds Annie like on the side of the road, I think she was raped as well. It was implied, and that's why he went after these 5 guys. He actually says, "I didn't really even want." Like dark side takes over, and he finds that's what he has to do. And like I think he just doesn't want to go through losing like Lucille again. You know what I mean? So it's easier for him to like send them off. And so it's obviously civilization is opening up because they're on this like Missouri trail. I'm assuming he believes they're safe, and for him to stay away, I actually feel like he's protecting them, you know, that way. I don't know if you agree with that or not. So.
No, I do agree that that's why he sent them off, to protect them. Like my point is more, he's sending people away from him because he's protecting them from what he goes through, from being wanted and such. But yet at the same time, he's still wanted, but takes on a little girl. It kind of goes against like, why would you bring this little girl into your care if you're wanted, but yet you were willing to send away your own wife and child? Maybe it's because
he wants to say that I am going to try and find somewhere for you, because that's what they're on the road looking for. So I think he was intending to do that. But you know, I get what you mean. Though. It's like hypocritical to send off your own child and then take on somebody else's. You know, but
and take on another. Yeah,
that's the way Negan works. Yeah, you know. But I feel that he doesn't.
Sorry.
No, go ahead, Cass.
Oh, no, I was going to say, we don't know yet who's killed her father. We don't know if it was the Marshals of Babylon, or we don't know if it was, how'd you say it?
Whose father?
I'm going to make a bold prediction. I think it might have been Negan.
I think it might be Negan. That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
And I think he's feeling guilty, and that's the only reason he's taken on the child.
Yeah, I'm thinking. Okay. I was thinking about that too. I think that the reason, probably why he did take on Ginny, is because one of the men he killed was her father.
Yeah,
maybe.
And just didn't realize it until after they were gone that he made her an orphan.
Because he had a matching dinosaur, and that's why he knows.
It's got to be a motive for Negan, isn't it? He doesn't just do anything off the skin of his own back, you know. So maybe you're right. Yeah.
I think that's a good theory. I think the possibility is there that Ginny's father is one of the 5 men that he killed.
Yeah.
You know, and he's bringing her on. I mean, and there's a possibility that Ginny might even know this, but I don't know. It's going to be interesting. It kind of goes along with my whole theory that I made last week, in that Maggie's rescue of Herschel is not going to be as easy as she thinks it's going to be. I think he's going to be under the influence of the Croat a little bit by the time she gets there. And she's going to have to convince him to come home.
Yeah, he was definitely showing rebellion, wasn't he? So, and from what she said in this episode about their last words exchanged.
Yeah.
The elements are there. And And when you throw in, like I said, like, again, these are just theories. We don't know whether or not they're going to happen. But if you throw in the possibility that Herschel's going to side with the Croat a little bit because of the teenage angst, you throw in the possibility that Ginny's father is one of the men that Negan killed. These two things alone, just the possibility of these two things alone kind of adds so much more depth to this series. Yeah. It's not just Maggie and Negan team up to take on the big bad. There's so much more depth to the series. And I think it's really smart from the writer's point of view.
They're doing a great job. It's great.
Yeah. Even just to give us these little hints and make us theorize about these kind of things. I think it's fun. And again, just gives so much depth.
Definitely.
Cass, how about you? What's any other notes to that or another point that you want to make?
Just checking my notes. No, I did write about this actually. What did I write? Sorry. Oh my god, brain fart. Oh, I think it was just about the dinosaur. I liked Ginny's attachment to the dinosaur. I thought it was really cute, and it kind of gave her in like a world where she's kind of had to grow up quite. Well, born in this world, I'm guessing from the timeline.
Yeah, I would imagine.
Not really having like a childhood, so having that much of an attachment to a little plushie was kind of cute. I like that. I like that they brought that in.
It must be something to do with their dad, I reckon. Something he's given her, maybe.
Well, it did look quite clean. It looked very clean for a post-apocalyptic world. It still had colour to it.
Yeah, I think not faded is probably more, to say, because you're right. Like clean it, you can clean it. That's not a big deal. But you're right. The fact that it's not faded, like it's still green. You're right. Maybe there's a village out there that's making toys. I don't know.
Aww.
Just handing them out on the side of the road with some lemonade.
Yeah.
The North Pole is still a village here in the Walking Dead.
Yeah.
The North Pole. That would be funny. I mean, hey, it could work. I mean, because the only people up there are the elves. So, I mean, as long as they don't have any
infection up there.
Exactly.
They don't discriminate against zombies.
They put them to work in the North Pole.
Yeah, you see a little zombie going along with a little dinosaur in its back soon.
Gemma, how about you? Any what's another point?
Okay, so I'm going to touch on the Croat. We had a bit more information about him this episode. We had his backstory that in the beginning, he went out to find food for his starving family, which is his wife and his 3 daughters. And he came back and he said that they were food for another family. So
and his son,
I was
too.
wondering. Oh, his son. Yeah, I'm sorry. Yep. I was wondering, because they were down south, whether this might have been Terminus or the early days of the Terminus lot. Anyway, they were cannibals. And then he makes his way to Virginia just the way that our gang did. I mean, it could be a possibility. But I think, that really fucked him up. And then he found Negan then, who said, join me. And then he, that's the beginning of the Croat, really. But he came from this really messed up situation, and he just got worse and worse and worse. And in this episode, you see him. I don't know whether he had this pre-planned or not to kill the guy that served him the food. It was just very. It just felt very thought out, more than spontaneous. So he's like, oh, there's a maggot in my food, but. And then he makes him swallow the key, bashes his head, and then throws him over, and then he becomes, something that the marshal has to get to later. Anyway, this weird messed up. It's something that Negan, I don't think, would even have done himself. Negan's just more about bash bang, make a scene sort of thing. This was more this is darker, and I think and meticulously planned. I don't know what you think of that. Anyway, but he's messed up.
Yeah, I firmly believe that everything was intentional. Everything that he did was intentional. Upon my second watch, I noticed something that the Croat did that I didn't really pick up on the first time. And it's when he's talking to Pearlie, who is, as you mentioned, he's handcuffed to that railing and he's got the food in front of him. It's before he even takes off the lid and, sees the meat is rotten. He's running through the list of everything that they have. And when he says food, he kind of taps the cheek of that guy. He goes up and he puts his hand on that guy's face as he mentions food. The first time I watched it, I was like, he's the chef. Like, he's the one that brought the food in, that he's just showing appreciation. And upon second time, I'm like, I don't know if that's what I believe now, knowing what's about to happen.
Yeah.
I think the Croat knew that guy was bait.
Yeah.
For everything. He was for the test. He was part of the test that he was going to put Pearlie through. I think everything, as you mentioned, like as to whether or not it was intentional, I believe everything was intentional, from making him swallow the key to making him become a walker to putting him in the cage with Pearlie to see if Pearlie was smart enough to go in and get the key. I believe everything he did was intentional.
Yeah, I agree.
Very uncomfortable when he brought the trays of food out with the wine.
Yeah.
He looked like he hadn't done it before. Like, he looked really out of place. And when I was watching it, I was thinking it's really weird that they've bought, you'd think like someone would be more confident in that position, because I'm guessing if you're chef or bringing out food and like trusted with something like that you'd be higher up. So you'd have like more of a confident like kind of stance on everything, whereas he came out and he's a bit like, I don't know, a bit wary.
Yeah, and he didn't turn the lights on, if you noticed. So maybe he didn't know that the lights didn't work, and then so when the Croat came in, he put the lights on then, so.
Well, not only that, but when the Croat lifts the lid and he takes that first cut into the meat and he sees the maggot and he takes a step back and he sees the meat is rotten, and he says, "You didn't check the meat." You can hear that guy is actually about to say, like, well, actually it was, and then he's cut off.
Yeah.
As in, it was supposed to be somebody else who was supposed to check that meat. He didn't do it. He didn't touch it.
No.
So that guy was always a pawn in the Croat's plan, I believe. He was there as bait. He was there to be just a piece or a cog in an entire machine that he just put together to make happen.
Mm-hmm.
So, I believe everything was intentional.
Yeah, I agree. So what do you think about his family as well being eaten? Do you think it might have linked to Terminus, or it's just a wild guess?
No, I think that's a great theory, honestly.
That is a good theory. When you said it, I was like, oh, damn.
Yeah, that's exactly how I was. Because it never crossed my mind. And then you were like, well, maybe it was Terminus that ate his family. I was like,
I think I had my mic muted because I was coughing, but I did go, oh, shit, as you said it.
Yep.
And I was like, no, I was muted.
Yeah.
Damn
it. Yeah.
No, that's a really good theory. And again, another great way for the writers to tie in Walking Dead proper to this series, and show that like everything that happened in that Prime series has an effect on this world. It's like Terminus didn't just have an effect on Rick and those survivors. Terminus had an effect on other people in this world. So the fact that, as you mentioned, theorized that it could have been Terminus that killed and ate his family just shows the effect that they had on other people in this world as well.
So many effects on husbands and fathers at Maggie.
Yeah. Yeah. But that room at Terminus, if you remember, it was like filled with like people's possessions and toys and clothes. If you remember, it was,
Was there a dinosaur there? Has anyone checked that yet?
Maybe.
I'll have to go back and look now.
Yeah.
No, but I mean, you're right. Like Terminus had been at it for a while before Rick and those guys came across them. So I think there's every possibility that exactly you might be spot on that it could have been Terminus that is partially responsible for the Croat.
Yeah.
Didn't they? The reason they turned into that as well is because people would come in and rape the women.
Their mums and
the mums
and they turned they got it back, didn't they? But they just
maybe it's the marshals.
I was going to say maybe it was Sanctuary that came in, tortured the people at Terminus, caused them to become cannibalistic. They then killed, at some point, Croat's family. The Croat was born, and then went to Sanctuary, and it became a vicious circle.
Yeah.
I feel like I need a whiteboard for all of this.
Right?
Some string. Whiteboard and string.
It's extensive Walking Dead knowledge.
That's a good theory, Jim. I like that.
Okay.
I'm going to go back. I'm going to backtrack a little bit to that conversation that I mentioned between Maggie and Negan. We talked a little bit obviously about Negan and his backstory, talking about Annie and his son, and the reasons why he left. But there are some things, again, that kind of left me a little torn about the possibility of him taking on another person into his protection. But from the other side of that, I really enjoyed this conversation because it starts with Negan coming in with the baseball cap that he offers to Maggie. This is kind of like an olive branch in a sense to Maggie. Like I'm giving this to you, excuse me, because I've seen Herschel wearing this, so thought that you might want to give this to him when you rescue him. First, again, that's kind of like an olive branch to Maggie, but at the other time, it's also he's showing that he's behind Maggie. They just had this whole conversation with Luther and Tommaso about how this plan's not going to work. Your son's already dead. It's not going to matter. And she is mentally distraught. And in comes Negan, who seems to be at this point the only person who has her back. And he wants that to be known. He wants her to know, I'm behind you. This plan's going to work. Don't listen to them. Like, we're going to get Herschel back. And I loved that. Like, again, it's more... I mean, and then by the end of that conversation, the fact that Maggie takes the hat, she accepts it. Yeah. It's showing the relationship between these two. The connection between these two is starting to be closer.
I like that.
There's trust.
She took the hat. She didn't say thank you, and she was just like, "You knew how to shut up." Because he started the conversation with saying like, "I can shut up and listen for all of 2 minutes."
Yeah.
And then she just finished it as if, "I thought you know how to shut up," and then she took the hat, which I thought was quite nice.
I mean, but again, I think that's almost a way of saying thank you without actually saying thank you.
Yeah, directly saying it,
But on the other side of that, at the beginning of that scene, she has a tin with photos of her and Herschel, and she has Glenn and Herschel's watch in it, and then she's looking at the image of Glenn, and then who's behind her is Negan, Glenn's murderer, with a cap in his hand that signifies to her Glenn. And it's kind of like, it's no wonder really she doesn't want to talk to him. She's conflicted because she needs him. He's the only one who has her back. But also he's this like horrible reminder for her that, he killed her husband. And I that's why I get where she's coming from. And that's why she doesn't say thank you to him. She's like, and I did notice earlier in the episode, he goes to touch her. And you mentioned that last week that she doesn't let him touch her. So he puts his hand on her arm or something, and she shrugs it off. So and I really noticed that this episode. So yeah, she doesn't let him touch her. He's such a strong reminder for her. I don't think she's ever really going to get over it. I mean, how could you,
Yeah. And I think she has every right to not get over that. Like she has every right to never completely forgive him, but that's not to say that things haven't changed. I'm not saying like she has to forgive him, and I know there's a lot of people out there that are, one of their biggest issues with this relationship between these two characters is that, how could you work with him, because Negan's a horrible character, and he really is a horrible person, but at the same time there's so much more depth to the character. You don't have to love him, but you can like him.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. You don't have to forgive him.
No.
But you can trust him. Now.
Tolerate.
You can tolerate, yeah.
Would I trust Negan? I don't know. I mean, it's a hard question. I would like to, and she has no other choice at the moment, does she? She has no other choice. So she has to.
Yeah,
But,
and I think
like,
that's it. I think she's kind of stuck to she has to trust him.
Yeah, she has to. And he does seem to have her back, so, but we'll see.
Hopefully she doesn't end up like Alpha.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I think maybe the only other person who maybe has Maggie's back, but she's also conflicted herself, is Amaya.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because Amaya wants to do it. She wants the plan to work, but because of Tommaso and his feelings for it, she's conflicted as well. Negan is really the only one who fully has Maggie's back at this point. Yeah. And there's a line that said earlier on that I loved, and it comes from Negan, and it's in the beginning of the episode after they have the whole conversation about everything that's happening, why they're actually there, and Maggie kind of walks off, and Negan tells them she's tougher than she looks, and she looks tough as shit. Like, that's massive. Like, while she may not have respect for Negan, he has respect for her.
Oh yeah. Oh, definitely. I think he likes her. You know, I think he has definite respect for her, and he respects her definitely. You know, definitely.
I think he speaks very highly of the women around him, because same kind of example of like when he was speaking about Carol. Within the last season, he was really bigging her up as well, and was kind of like, don't think that she's not gonna kind of come with it. Like, she will. She's a badass.
Yeah.
I mean, there's another moment in this episode too that kind of shows a lot of respect, and it's actually in that same conversation where he says, like, you know, she's tougher than she looks, and she looks tough as shit. Is, you know, when Maggie is telling the story about the Croat and how Negan knows him. Negan starts telling the story about, you know, like 10, 15 years ago, there was this guy and he ruled with a hammer, and then the people eventually turned and they took the hammer back, and they asked, like, well, did it work? And Maggie's like, it worked. And he's like, hell yeah, it worked. He knows, man. He knows she's a badass. Not just her, but the people she sides with. The people she tends to deal with and to side with, the people that she puts her trust in, are badasses in their own.
Yeah.
So
I thought it was interesting the way he did that, and he spoke about himself in the third person, like reciting what had happened. And I still feel like he's separating himself from the person that he was back then, you know, because in the episode, Lucille's episode, he burns Lucille. So he's like, I'm putting the past behind me. And I really feel that he doesn't see himself as the person at the sanctuary all those years ago. And that's why he's telling the story in the third person, because that's somebody else. But, you know, it may, you know, that's my thoughts on it anyway. Like, I think he's still not accepting what he did, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think to be able to talk about himself in the third person is a way for Negan to be able to kind of step outside and look at himself from an outside perspective, instead of looking at himself from like instead of looking at himself in a mirror. He's kind of stepping outside of himself and looking at, and then he's seeing the person that he was, and he doesn't like it. I don't think he does like it anymore.
No, he doesn't. Yeah. He doesn't like the person that he used to be, definitely. Because in that episode with Lucille, he's like, "You're a clown," you know, and he recognizes that, I think. So,
yeah.
And he doesn't want to be in the same. He doesn't want to be in the same category as this Croat. You know, he doesn't want to take responsibility, I think, for this person. You know, because that's not me. You know, I think that's the way he feels.
Mm-hmm. Cassie, any other points from you that you kind of want to bring up and talk about?
Yeah, I love it. Really made me giggle how much Luther was like very dismissive of Negan's cut on his hand.
Oh yeah,
throughout the episode. Like, there's a point where they're in the pharmacy and he's got beeswax and Luther's putting it on the wound on his shoulder, and he goes, "Can I have some of that?" And he's like, "No."
Yeah.
There's a couple of times where they do it throughout, like when obviously when they're in the kitchen and he's looking for a weapon, And he picks up that cheese grater, and all I can think of, that's going to be awful if that goes across someone's face. And then,
then that's exactly what happens.
Should I be writing these points? Like that just literally come in my head, and I was like,
you knew it was going to happen.
So much, but it's.
Well, I mean, and to talk about this, like there is that moment, there's that conversation with Negan and Luther at the end of the episode, where Luther presents him with the wanted sign, with the wanted poster, that he knows who Negan is and the kind of person he believes he knows, the kind of person that Negan is purely from that wanted sign. And I thought about that, and the more